Industry over 20 years and has experience in sales development, business management in the European market. And before Projectplace, he worked for NetViewer AG as the VP of Global Sales with European Business Development and Management at SITA. How about that? That's my German accent for the day.
Sounds good.
He's very passionate about growing Projectplace, where he's the Vice President of Sales in Germany. So please welcome Frank. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. Hello, good morning. Does the mic work? Is it okay? Yeah, now it's better. Okay. Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Frank Holzhäuser. That's my surname. It's quite a tough one, even for Germans, probably. So I asked Tricia to just call me Frank, and I do the rest then. I want to give you a little presentation on social business and what we do at Projectplace. I'm in charge of sales within Projectplace, working for Projectplace since beginning of last year. And it's a real exciting ride so far. And I want to share some of the thoughts of how we consider social business and the different components to it, actually. Social business, I mean, we are here. That's the headline, social business collaboration. And when I was asked to present something from Projectplace, I was wondering, this is a buzzword at the moment. A couple of years ago, probably nobody was naming it the way we do it today. So what is social business, actually? What does it mean, social business, social collaboration activities in companies? Anybody who wants to answer that question? Any ideas? I have seen in the list of participants that there are many people from different organizations, functions, roles. And I thought it's maybe a good idea to spend some time on and some slides on this phrase, social business. So I'm going to give you some aspects to this headline. But first of all, who is Projectplace? We are a Swedish company, and we help our clients to collaborate, to communicate, and to share information across borders, boundaries, within teams, companies, countries, on a global basis, and you name it. That's what we do since 12 years, actually, or 14 years now. Founded 1998, and actually the DNA of Projectplace is coming from a research program of the Fraunhofer Institute 14 years ago in Hamburg, where some people actually analyzed the impact of the internet towards team collaboration, teamwork, and the society in general. So that's where we are coming from. Our founder, Matthias Hellström, he was part of this research team in Hamburg, and he was so thrilled about it that he actually founded Projectplace during that year. And the interesting thing is that what they have discovered this time, I mean, that was really a future visionary research project. What they have discovered and analyzed this time is basically what we have today in terms of how we work together and how we need to work together. So Projectplace is probably one of the first ones from the software point of view that have looked into this, into those challenges. We have 160 employees at the moment, headquartered in Sweden. And we have a good footprint in Scandinavia at the moment. We will open up an office in the UK, in London, as of October. And subsidiaries in Bangalore, where we have our development team, where the software is developed, actually. customers across all sectors. I mean, I think that's very obvious if you work in that space. The service that you are offering is supposed to be attractive to everybody. Just wanted to give you a little snapshot of some names that we are working closely together with, and I have seen some of those companies are represented here today as well. So please feel free, and we are looking forward to have a more intensive dialogue with you afterwards at our booth over there. So, social business and the activities and changes we are going through in our society. Actually, some major trends and headlines that are hitting all of us in different flavors and probably disciplines. But what's going on is what we call globalization. That's probably the biggest trend and movement in the world. Also the evolvement of ecosystems as a result of the globalization. I mean, people are working together, suppliers, companies, users, consumers, and you name it, and they are building knowledge clusters, interest clusters, and they are building, and they are coming up with skill sets and skills and expertise in specific areas. Then, of course, through globalization, we have an increase of productivity, competitiveness, which is another consequence, and probably the major consequence of this globalization trend and process. And a consequence of this level of excellence increase that everybody needs to go through is that changes in culture and in organizational setups are required as an ongoing change process. There are some people that like it, they enjoy it, and I mean, that's very human. Some of them have problems with this, so it needs to be managed and it needs to be taken care of, actually, this change management. We have received a quite interesting number of employees, a percentage, 65% of employees are not really engaged with the company as a consequence of all those changes going on a constant basis. The human being obviously prefers to have a stable environment, a comfort zone, where business and communication and behavior is located. All this change that is new for us is making can cause frustration, actually, and lack of engagement. So I thought that's an interesting percentage to bring up, actually, because that's probably one of the things that needs to be taken care of on the soft side of our daily work. Then teamwork across countries, time zones, in different projects, many times simultaneously. I mean, the whole way we are working together is changing. Projects, tasks are allocated to people with timelines, and then they just have to deliver, actually, yeah, without thinking too much of how and with which tools to be used there. So this is part of the change as well, and it's a challenge. Then we have this nice social networking and communication change we are going through. I mean, the Facebook generation is coming up. The way how people are communicating is changing dramatically through these social elements, through the social networking, which is a very human behavior, actually. Now the technology and the internet allows us to be more human in terms of communication, and that's what we see in the Facebook generation. even to some extent, audio, let's say telephony, is replaced by this new way of communicating. And I mean, you can imagine, we have to work probably longer, at least we in Germany, than our parents. So the people in work will be more senior in the future, on one side. On the other side, the new generation is coming into a company, into organizations, and they are used to communicate in a different way. They are used to use their iPad, their PDA. Yeah? They are used to communicate in a Facebook social networking style together, and they are sitting together in teams with those senior people. Yeah? So in some cases, we have 4 generations in one company. And if you take this into consideration to the challenges that we all have in our daily life, and business life in particular, you can kind of imagine what complexity we have in front of us here. So, yeah, that was just kind of setting the scene of something that has a really big load and benefit that we call the social business component. High-performing teams, that should be the answer, and there are studies. What does it mean to generate and to actually put high-performing teams together, and what are the characteristics of high-performing teams? How do they work together? Actually, there are some analysts that say, okay, it's all about having a common goal, understanding the purpose, why everybody is working together in a team for a specific time frame. What is the joint commitment, the joint commitment and goal? And of course, complementary skills are required. And what is very important, and that's something that is particularly in Germany starting to change, is the hierarchical transparency. The less levels, the better and the stronger the teams are. That can be proven. That's very evident, and I think that's very logical. Even without statistics, everybody can imagine that this is the case. But that's not all. I mean, those teams, they need to, if they want to work together in that way, they need to have that's what we call the social business culture. That's the kind of glue in between to make them successful. It's not just the people itself and all their skills and characteristics, it's the environment that is a very important factor to success. And to tackle those challenges that I showed you before. Now, before we go into this social business component, I think and that's probably why we are here to a large extent. We know that social organization is what we need in the future in order to stay and to remain competitive. And that's what Gartner says and confirms actually based on studies, on analysis. Now, what is a social organization? I was asking the question, and yeah, there are lots of interpretations into that phrase. But I thought it's good to bring it up, how, let's say, neutral analysts are defining a social organization. Actually, it's an organization that is working with social media, with stakeholder engagement, and using the latest technologies with customers, employees in those ecosystems, actually. So if we squeeze some of those elements out into and give headlines to it, then a social organization is something that is very good in communication, in collaboration, is ready to take rapid decisions, because that's the consequence of the first headline, is transparent to everybody, hierarchical situation, and the consequence also will be innovation. And then you have an evidence to this competitiveness that's required in the globalized economy, actually. Is there anything else you would add to this list? Is this also your understanding of a social organization? You have any other ideas? Something missing here? Is it too much, or? Please.
On the human.
Yes?
To really emphasize that they are humans.
Very much so. People-centric, actually. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. It's more people-centric than technology-centric. Technology is only the enabler, the enabling dimension to it, actually. Okay. Well, of course, many, analysts have analyzed this social business, those components, once they had an understanding of what it is, basically. Now, I wanted to share some of the results of studies that have been done by McKinsey that clearly provide a bunch of really evident benefits that you get once you turn your organization into a more social injected culture and organization. Knowledge share will increase. Hopefully the 65% that Gallup found out 2 years ago will reduce in terms of dissatisfaction. So employees will be more satisfied. The time to market, that's more an indirect benefit, will be reduced as a result. And your innovation level will increase automatically as well. And we at Projectplace, we are a small company. It's probably easy to say we are a social organization because we are so small. We are Swedish. Swedish people are social by nature, probably more than others already. They like the consent. They like to communicate. And I think it's not a coincidence that a company like Projectplace is coming from Sweden, from Stockholm, actually. I would not have expected coming this from Germany 14 years ago. Today's a different story, of course. Other criteria that I don't want to go too much into it, actually. But I think even without having statistics, that's a kind of normal or logical consequence of what it means if an organization is changing into a more social culture. Yeah. I wanted to show you one nice example what it means to change into that way. And typically, what we have in projects or in tasks is an information flow that is structured in a way that by a specific time period, different level of people are informed by reports, through meetings, through emails, and so on. Yeah? So the information flow is kind of scheduled and planned right from the beginning. And it takes time till the poor C-level guy up there knows what is going on in the project. And the Berlin airport is maybe an example for that kind of communication. Yeah. You see this, I mean, in this case, the sea level is T4 or T5 even. It takes a long time till they really know what's going on. That's typically how we, in a traditional way today, structure information flow, planned with tools, Gantt charts and things like this. Very kind of future forecasting of information flow. Why do we do this? This provides comfort. We know, okay, I have some time to prepare my report to the next guy, to the next level in the project, and I know what to do actually. That's the old way of communicating. It's not the Facebook way. It's not the social networking way. The social networking way is more osmotic. It's a natural communication flow. It's an ongoing flow, independent of planned and defined time periods, actually, milestones. It's going on typically what you have if you are in former times on a marketplace, where things have been exchanged, information have been exchanged between people, or what you see if people are standing at a coffee machine having coffee together, or on a smoker's corner, or whatever. And that's the kind of communication flow that we have nowadays using Facebook and those social networking elements. And that's the new way of communicating. And the young generation, they are only used to this way. And when they are coming to the company with their fancy networking groups and ways of communicating, then if you want to put them into this traditional pattern, they will face a problem, and you will face, and we all will face a problem. You see the difference in the way how information is exchanged. Here, it doesn't matter how many hierarchical levels you have actually, because information is an ongoing, natural thing that is not a burden, that doesn't need to be prepared for hours. Of course, still we will have reports. We have to consolidate information and knowledge in a way, no doubt about it. But that's the kind of background osmotic process that is ongoing on a constant basis. And even if we don't have tools that will allow this, it will take place through the private, through the personal channel, through the Facebook channel, or the Xing LinkedIn channel, through Twitter, or you name it. We cannot kind of prevent this anyway. The interesting thing is, if you allow this in an organization, of course it needs to be governed in a proper way. I mean, you need to put some intelligence in the governance and in your communication standards. But if you allow this in an organization, in a project, in your daily business life, then we will see something that looks like the picture on the right-hand side, which is an increase of communication flow in a company of around about 30,000 employees before and after implementing social network communication tools. I had some discussions before that somebody asked me, told me, well, yeah, but I don't want that my people do this on the right-hand side because they will spend too much time on the keyboard. Yeah, that's maybe a counter argument to it, but here what kicks in is the governance, the culture you have to put into your company actually, and the core value environment that is required as an additional component to something like this. So, Projectplace, back to Projectplace. How do we support the social business environment? Well, actually, as I mentioned before already, it has been the company has been had been aware of those aspects already, and for Projectplace, a project or a task is a temporary social system where people work together on a specific purpose. Yeah. As they spend time together, they know each other, at least through pictures. So that's why we really incentivize that people put pictures into the staff directory so that faces are visible. If we can't see somebody because he's sitting in South Africa, at least I want to know how the face looks like. And there is a different psychological relationship and binding if we see faces rather than telephone numbers or names or so. Yeah? So for us, a project or a team collaboration or a task is something that can be compared to a temporary social system with all aspects, human aspects and elements that we know from those systems. So the question was actually, okay, what can be done to enable such a communication and information flow that we have seen two slides before actually. And typically what we have in place, and still we have it of course as well, is Outlook. I mean, it's a communication platform where we send emails, we attach files, and we share information in a specific way. Then we have an additional channel, which is the telephone, yeah, where information is exchanged. So, and if you work together in a social network for a specific time with specific people, then this tool will fail because you will always forget somebody, or you will always have a problem with whatever attachment sizes or so. I mean, I think we all know those challenges on a daily basis actually. Yeah. And then we have the audio channel, I mean the telephone system, telephone conferences. So we are using different media and mediums actually to communicate. And information, energy, motivation, and some of those soft factors are kind of fading away because we are using different channels. So the philosophy of providing a service for those needs for Projectplace has been, I would say, okay, we need to provide and offer a room, a kind of room, a platform, an environment where people can communicate in a secure way. And it's maybe not closed, but it's a secured environment where none of those information, if it's audio, if it's an attachment, if it's email, is lost. So everything is in one dimension, in one environment. And you can track it back even and can see what has been done before. So coming a little bit more into our service, and we won't go into a product presentation here. Please again be invited to join us at our little stand at the back end of the room, where we can show you how we try to support those challenges through our service. One interesting aspect is that yes, I mean we know Facebook. Is there a manual? Do we have to read how Facebook is working? Does anybody ever read a manual, a handbook, how to use Facebook? Probably not. That's this gamification thing that we see, that people just go into an environment and try to use it right away. And that's what we thought is very, very important if we want to incentivize those social networking needs, which means that the service needs to be available right away from all devices that we have today, nowadays. And it needs to be in a kind of gaming, intuitive gaming mechanism, so that people don't have to be trained when they have to start working together on a global project. Yeah. So, oh, that was too quick. So just to highlight some of the features to show and to show how we are working towards those social elements. Different things like online meetings, like document management, project overviews, the social features. I mean, things like spirit. What's the spirit in the team? The spirit meter. Yeah? Even if everything is going okay, if the spirit is bad, then you probably will face a problem sooner or later. Things like this. The I like it button. These are all those elements that are part of the service, and they are just used, and there's a good value in it actually. Yeah, we don't need to go too much into the product level here or into the service level. We have a bunch of very much lots of use cases and case studies that are confirming basically what analysts have found out already before, that when you provide such a service, such a technology, such an enablement, then things will work out better actually than before. So please feel free. We have some demo cases here as well to join us. We are looking forward to a dialogue really, because we are interested in getting feedback, in particular from such a crowd that is interested in the social environment. And I have seen that some of you and lots of you are really close to the communicative aspects of the business. So we are really looking forward to an intensive dialogue with you, because we want to learn from you as well. Thank you very much.
Are there questions?
Me again, Marcus Martin from Tieto. Do you have any numbers? Just the last slide about the effects and advantages of a social platform.
Yeah,
do you measure kind of measuring in?
Yeah, we have ROI case studies, which we can share with you on an individual basis, because we have NDAs and things like this. But we are happy if you are interested in real numbers and ROI levels. We are happy to share this with you on an individual basis, actually.
Does the tool include measuring aspects?
Pardon me?
Does the tool include measuring? Measuring options, etc., for the company itself? So that they, after, let's say, 1 or 2 years, can measure the success by themselves?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the measurement is actually subject to KPIs that need to be defined together before and after the project. So the project, so the service itself allows the follow-up and the monitoring of KPIs, but the conclusion actually afterwards need to be taken by somebody else, by the user basically. Yeah. Yeah. But we can measure timelines, resource loads, working loads, availabilities, budget flows and things like this. And I mean, those data actually provide reports that if you base them on KPIs, you can really get hard factors out of the system.
Marco Wildecker, Sidien. My question is, how do you care about the innovation cycle? You said there are many aging people like me in the company, and there are per year maybe 1 to 2% or 2.5% digital natives coming in the company. So these people are used to a certain standard of technology. After 2 years, the next guys are used to another technology. How do you care with this? Because usually large companies have to start huge projects in order to implement technology.
That's a very good question actually, and I mean that's when we talk about the governance actually. I mean a service like this cannot. I mean, what a service like this needs to take care of is to be available on those new platforms and new equipment and what's the name, PDAs and things like this. But the way how we do it, for instance, we know that those young software developer, they have their Macintosh stuff, which is the fancy, I mean, everybody wants this fancy Macintosh stuff. It has been absolutely no-go in many companies in the previous years. And now all of a sudden, I mean, I see lots of iPads and iPhones here. All of a sudden, this world is coming into the serious business environment. And guess who brought it into organizations, into companies? What's your guess or your?
Our CIO.
Exactly, it's the C-level people. Yeah? They bring it from the consumer's world into the business world. Yeah? That's what we call the consumerization of IT actually. Yeah? And it's becoming more and more a challenge for bigger companies to kind of limit this trend. And the answer is, well, instead of limiting it, because what takes place if a young guy is coming with his iPhone, it's more than just a telephone. He will keep it. He will probably take the SIM card from his mobile phone, remove it there and put it into his iPhone and is using the iPhone then, rather than using what he has been asked to use from the company side. So this is something, and the role of a CIO of the IT department will change and has to change more into the kind of governance way on the governance side in order to allow this and to kind of limit maybe usage or have different security perspective into it. But you cannot, I mean, particularly the young generation, you cannot tell them to use the same equipment than the ones are using that are close to get retired, actually. No way. They will use it anyway. Yeah? So rather than trying to block it out, it's better to allow it and to manage it in a different way than we are used to in the traditional setup. But our service is not lined up in a way to handle this, because here we are discussing the management and the governance of such an environment. We are back to the business culture, to the core value implementation of into an organization, into a social organization.
But talking from IM or IT point of view, this creates a lot of legacy because the diversity of the products we have to deal with will block us in the future to be innovative. Because at some time we don't have the personnel to care for all these versions and equipments. We are not set up in the moment to handle this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's we see this trend in many of our clients, that they are trying to reduce the number of applications, I mean, the cloud adoption, the software as a service trend is helping to get rid of those dependencies to some extent, at least. I mean, that's indeed a challenge that needs to be managed, but we think it's a transition time. If you would start up your own company today, you would probably not buy huge IT landscape anymore. You would probably try to go on a cloud-based service as much as possible. And of course, the big companies that have invested since years, 10, 20, 30 years, I mean, they have a huge landscape of application, of hardware, software, processes, tools, and things like this in place already. And that's indeed a challenge now, to reduce, to shrink it, to make it more flexible, to adapt it to this new way of managing a company and managing growth, actually. It's a transition time we are in. We are helping through our professional service guys to look into this, into those aspects. The tool, the platform, the service itself cannot cover it, really.
Okay, Frank will be at the back if you have other questions for the rest of the conference, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.